This, in turn, leads to the issue of self-identification in prisons too. Women make up just 7% of the prison population, and in general terms serve shorter sentences due to the different nature of their crimes. There have been very real and horrifying examples of male prisoners claiming to be trans in order to be moved into women's prisons, most famously Karen White, who was on remand for sexual offences committed as a man against women. White was moved to a women's prison after claiming to identify as a woman, and went on to sexually assault female inmates before being transferred back to a male prison, and her transgender status was eagerly supported by Jamila Jamil. Now, 1 in 50 male offenders in prison are self-identifying as transgender, according to Peter Clark, the Chief Inspector of Prisons in the UK. This leads us to the trans prisoner paradox. Trans rights activists are incredibly firm in their suggestion that self-ID does not pose any risk, and is not open to abuse in this way, and they believe that anyone who self-identifies as a woman is a woman. Now, if that's true, how do they account for the fact that the transgender community is so massively overrepresented in the prison population? If 1 in 50 inmates are transgender, this would make the transgender community one of the most dangerous groups in the UK, with 1 in every 200 transgender people incarcerated, as opposed to 1 in every 1,000 for the general population. Obviously, only one of these things can be true. Either self-ID can be and is being abused by prisoners, or the trans community has within it an overwhelming problem, with transgender people more than 5 times likely to go to prison for committing crimes. Given that no trans rights activist is willing to concede either point, it means they believe in this bizarre paradox that ignores evidence and basic logic. Labour MP Lisa Nandy was also more than prepared to state that male paedophiles identifying as trans women should be housed in female prisons, despite being aware of these risks, claiming that anyone opposing this idea is simply being transphobic.
Given the growing number of sex offenders, such as someone like Christopher Wharton, who is a male sex offender who's a child rapist who was convicted last year of breaching a court order, who's already convicted of multiple child rape, who is now claiming to be a woman. Given that we know there's a growing number of these men, I've got 3 questions. Should his crimes be recorded, as he would wish, as being committed by a woman? Should he be accommodated in a women's or a men's prison? And should women in the Labour Party be seen as a hate group if we raise questions like this?
So I'm just going to take them in order, if that's all right, and I'll start with this question about the Gender Recognition Act, because, excuse me for taking a bit of time over this, but I want to treat it with care because I think it deserves careful language and, most of all, a bit more light and a bit less heat than we've managed to have in this debate so far. The questions that you asked were about whether the crimes of a particular person should be recorded as by a woman or a man, and I believe fundamentally in people's right to self-ID, and I believe that the Gender Recognition Act strikes the wrong balance in relation to that. So I think that crimes that are recorded should be recorded as that person wishes, having gone through that process, received support, and self-identified. You asked about whether trans people should be in women's or men's prisons. Well, I think trans women are women, and I think trans men are men. So I think that they should be accommodated in the prison of their choosing. And do I think that women in the Labour Party who raise questions about this should be expelled? No, I don't.
Why did you sign that pledge? Why did you sign the pledge?
I'll explain.
About Women's Place UK.
I'll explain.
Women are There was 2 hours of trans activists bashing on the windows of when Women's Place UK had a meeting. Why did none of you speak out about that? If you want to take the heat and have more light in the debate.
Genuinely didn't
you didn't know, but it was talked about at a conference.
But I'm happy to talk to you about it. I mean, look, this is a.
I can see a real danger here where people are in a male prison for sexual offences, including rape, and they basically go, hey, I'm a woman, which gets them out of a male prison where they might be having a rough time anyway, and gets them into a prison full of women who are their primary target.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that's the main issue really with self-identification, which is the new law that potentially could be coming through Parliament. I mean, at the moment there is a safeguard where a transgender person will have to prove that they're transgender by at least living for 2 years, say as a woman, and having a doctor's diagnosis. The study that I've just done recently is looking at how many prisoners there are and how many are in male prisons, how many in female prisons. And I've found about 13 in female prisons already, but there are 100 in male prisons living as women, but they will immediately be able to transfer into female prisons when...
So hang on, there's a couple of examples here. A transgender rapist who was moved to a women-only jail, despite still having male genitalia, was segregated after making unwanted sexual advances on female inmates. We have a male transgender prisoner guilty of a brutal murder moved from a women's jail because he kept having intercourse with female inmates. There are, it seems, examples of where people are being moved and then pose a threat. This is the point, isn't it? Pose a threat to the women in prison.
Yep. Already it's possible to do that, but it will only ever get worse when it becomes easier for people to transfer.
And just explain then this law that is going through Parliament, because your organisation is all about having a look at how this impacts women, isn't it?
Yeah. So we're against the self-identification of gender, which is the new law that is being proposed to go through. So there's a consultation at the moment.
So you don't want people just to be able to tick a box saying, I am now a woman?
At the moment, to get a gender recognition certificate, you need to have lived as a woman for 2 years and have a doctor's diagnosis. So
I've got great concerns myself that this law is called the Gender Recognition Act. It is due reform, and there are important things that do need to be changed. But even as a transgender person, and I have to say that I am probably in the minority with this view, I share some of the concerns that the other speaker this morning has. But we should remember that transgender women are women, they're not men, but it comes down to that genuine aspect.
Are you happy for anyone born to a male biological body to simply raise their hand without any need for surgery and to compete in the Olympics against women born to female biological bodies?
So I'm a huge fan of athletics, and this has been a really big raging debate, because particularly around the issue of Caster Semenya, and so I've been following it really closely.
But hang on, Caster Semenya that's a different case.
Different case.
But
Caster Semenya is not a trans athlete.
No, there's an argument about whether Caster Semenya is a man or a woman.
We're talking about people self-identifying with male biological bodies saying, I am female, now competing against women born to female biological bodies. That's the debate. Should any man or anyone born to a male biological body be able to self-identify as a woman without any surgery or any of that transition process and compete in professional sport against women born to female biological bodies? Well, that's the nub of the debate.
Yeah, that is the nub of the debate.
If Floyd Mayweather spent a year taking testosterone treatment and then competed in female boxing, are you happy for them to then compete against women born to female biological bodies?
Well, the point I was trying to make before you cut me off was that I think there has to be a commission set up in sport to decide what the parameters are of those sporting rules. I mean, these are rules that are set by sporting bodies.
But it's not fair, is it?
By governing bodies.
It's just not fair. You don't need a commission to work out it wouldn't be right for Floyd Mayweather to identify as female and then fight women boxers born to female biological bodies. It's not a commission issue, it's a common sense issue, isn't it?
No, I don't.
You're about to be potentially leader of the Labour Party, and you say that this is something that doesn't really matter, and I
think it does matter.
I think these things...
I think it does matter.
I think it is crushing
there's a basic
women's
inherent
rights.
question of how you treat people properly in this country.
That Usain Bolt could self-identify as female and compete against women born to female biological
because
bodies.
You
why
are
can't
doing
you just say...
Because I'll tell you why.
You're a normal person, Lisa, will just go, it's complete madness.
I'll tell you why. Because you are doing what too many people have done in this debate.
Asking a straight question?
No, you've created more heat and less light. You're setting an example that is just simply nonsense.
No, absolute nonsense.
It's a straw man.
I've asked... There are two trans athletes who were competing as male athletes, born to male biological bodies, tall, powerful, very fast. They are now identifying as female, and they're smashing all Connecticut women's records. I don't think that is fair to women's rights.
Right.
This is a proper issue about how far do trans rights override women's rights. And I think that your inability to give me a straight answer is your problem, not mine.
I am giving you a straight answer, Piers. I'm saying that
You're not.
No, I'm saying that you're setting up a straw man in this.
What about the weightlifter in New Zealand who is wanting to compete in the Olympics as a female weightlifter who previously competed as a male weightlifter born with a male biological body? Is that right?
But that's why I said to you we need to set up a commission to consider these issues properly.
You won't have a commission in time for the Olympics. They're in 3 months.
Yeah, but this is why sport needs to get together and sort this out.
Is it fair, Lisa?
Well, it's
Why
not
can't you
fair
answer
if there are
me?
no rules.
What you're not doing is giving a straight answer.
I am giving a straight answer.
You're not.
No,
You're
I am
trying
giving a straight answer.
You're trying to actually do everything but give a straight answer.
No, I'm sorry,
Because
I'm
you're
not.
worried about the reaction your answer will cause you.
No,
What am I doing but
false.
trying to defend women's
trying to-
rights from a grotesquely unfair situation where people born to male biological bodies who have an obvious superior strength and power are now being able to simply say, I'm female, and compete against women born to female bodies. What am I doing that's so wrong?
You are attacking some of the most marginalised
Who am I
people in this
attacking?
country.
I've always
Enough,
supported
Piers.
transgender rights. I'm not attacking anybody.
Yes, you are.
I'm
That's
defending
exactly
women's...
what you do.
No, I'm defending women's rights.
Well, that would be a first, to be honest.
It wouldn't, actually. I defend women's rights a lot on this programme.
I'm sorry, I think this is just outrageous.
By asking a question about whether they should compete in sport.
We need far less heat, far more light, and you've just shown exactly why over the last few minutes.
Wow. Is that what you really think?
Yes, that is exactly
Do you
what
really
I
think
think
viewers watching this think I've been attacking transgender people?
Yeah, I do.
Really?
Yeah, I do.
I bet you not one of them thinks
You
that.
said it was grotesque.
I said it's grotesquely unfair to women if transgender athletes born to male biological bodies with superior strength and power are able to compete against them in female competition as, say, weightlifters or boxers.
That's why you need some proper rules around
Why
what
can't you just give me a
happens
straight
in
answer
sport.
and
Well,
agree
that's
that's
what I just
unfair?
said. No, I
Okay.
said you need rules.
All right.